This is Greg Tingle reporting for Media Man Australia and Media Man International. We're here with Taras at PJ Gallagher's Entertainment Quarter, just in the shadow of Fox Studios, Moore Park, Sydney, Australia. Taras, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
This is our improv beer garden studio. We've mentioned PJ Gallagher's by name. My surname is Tingle, which has an Irish or Scottish, some sort of connection, so I'm sure we'll be fine. We won't get kicked out. So, mate, you're a man of many talents. The wrestling and music connection initially put you on our radar. We met at the wrestling at the Max Watts round the corner when main event Ken Shamrock versus Dan the Beast Severin. But the harp is what you're mainly known for in the arts and entertainment industry in Australia. Why the harp? Everyone's going, why a harp? Because hardly anyone knows anyone that plays a harp. It's not a usual instrument for people to be playing, really.
Yeah, look, it's not a common instrument.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going through a tough time in life and I wanted something to do to occupy my time, to distract me. And I originally wanted to play the synthesizer, however I could not afford one at the time as I'd recently just quit my job, and I knew that I wanted to get into music though, and I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do. But since my mum used to play the harp, it meant we already owned two, so it was ultimately just an availability thing.
That's awesome.
It's not that I was drawn towards the harp or it's something that I always wanted to do since I was a kid. I just took it up as an adult to occupy my time, and I'm glad I did, as it's brought me a lot of happiness. I've been very lucky to be able to turn it into a job.
Yeah.
To be able to make a living from it for over 5 years now and be able to enjoy it so much, travel with it, and do lots of fun things.
Oh, that's tremendous. So it's like, have harp, we'll learn, we'll play, we'll travel, we'll make a career.
Absolutely.
So that's a fantastic story. Not like, yeah, and so it makes you stand out from the pack, which I think is almost like half of the battle, so to speak, in the art and entertainment industry these days, is having something a bit unique.
Absolutely.
So, mate, you've got it, the foundation. So, how long have you been in the industry for, when you do, like with the break, up to now? How many years is that now, and what would you say some of the main highlights and some of the main challenges that you've overcome?
Okay, so I've now been playing the harp for about 8 years. Some of the biggest highlights would be performing in the Sydney Opera House, as well as a show that I did in Tasmania last year. Something that I reflect very fondly on was doing an event based around suicide prevention, which Julia Gillard spoke at. That was a big honour to have done that event with her.
Oh.
Obviously launching my CD last year, that was a very big night for me. That was 1 year and 1 day ago.
Oh, look,
And
tremendous.
yeah, I reflect on that very fondly, as I got to perform all my original songs with my friends accompanying me in front of a really nice, intimate crowd. And
Yeah.
that was very enjoyable.
Oh, look, great stuff. So as they say, if you find a career or a job or something that you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. It's just like you're just enjoying it and you get paid and make a living out of what you love doing.
Well, there's always aspects of any job that you dislike, no matter how much you love it.
Yeah.
I wish harps were tuned myself.
Oh, yes.
Having to tune 30-something strings every time I perform gets a bit tedious. Having to lug around lots of music gear isn't very fun, but it's part of what goes with it. Like, every job has aspects you enjoy and every job has aspects you don't. So.
Exactly. For us, it's the editing's the killer. We like meeting people, having a good time with the work, all that, but sometimes, yeah, the editing, so sometimes we bring in editors, but today we've got raw, gritty footage, and people like it real sometimes these days too, which is great. So we met at the wrestling just round the corner. What was your connection there? I heard something about you may have done a bit of wrestling and you know one or two people in the industry. What's the story there?
Back in the day, I used to do a bit of pro wrestling. I was a big fan of it when I was a kid and a teenager, and I decided to get into it in my teenage years, and I had quite a bit of fun in some ways and then not so much fun in other ways. I lost interest though in it as an adult. I don't really watch wrestling, I don't follow it, I don't like it. But yeah, look, I'll watch it from time to time. I think my career highlight with wrestling would be having a tag match with former WWE superstar Raven.
Oh, and the ECW legend. Paul Heyman would probably say that, or I mean, yeah, Heyman had an interesting relationship with some of his talent, but they were responsible for each other's success to some extent.
Yeah.
Raven is a legend of the industry.
Yeah, Raven always had a cool persona, a cool gimmick.
Yeah.
it seems like there was a period of time where every second Australian wrestler wanted to be Raven, but
There can only be one.
there can only be one. Yeah. It was an interesting experience. At that stage, he was wrestling for Impact Wrestling, which would have been the second biggest company in the world at the time. This would have been at the very start of 2010.
Yep.
As in when I say the very start of 2010, that's the first week of 2010. And that's when that was on Fox 8. And it was watched by millions of people each week around the world. And the first week of 2010 on Impact Wrestling was when Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair joined the company. And Raven had a match on that show. And that was on the first Friday of the year. Then the week after on the that was on the first Saturday of the year. Then only 6 days later, I was in the ring with him having a tag match with him. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Having watched him on TV, on the same TV show as Hulk Hogan, and then the week later, I'm in the ring with him. And that was interesting. Even though it wasn't a great match, it was for a bad wrestling company in front of something like 20 people, which is ridiculously, pathetically promoted. Like, if you have an international come out and you don't draw over 100, you've done something wrong.
No names, but strange things can happen in the entertainment industry, including pro wrestling. Now, with a more your connection with a fantastic fellow in the wrestling and larger entertainment industry, combining together music, Chris Jericho, very well loved industry figure, one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. We call him the greatest all-rounder, with now one of the hottest bands in the world, Fozzy, frontman Chris Jericho. You bumped into him in an unusual fashion years ago, and he was a real nice bloke by the sound of it.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't say I've got all that much of a connection with him. I only met him once. And that was when we were out partying. What happened was I was with my friend Ross, and we were just hanging out at Frankie's Pizza, which is like a rock bar, a music venue, and a pizza joint all rolled into one. It's good fun, that place. And yeah, I was hanging out with my friend Ross, and one of Chris's tour managers' father was in the same band as Ross's father, thus those two were hanging out, and I sort of got brought into the circle. And so yeah, I got to hang out with Chris Jericho for like an hour or something at Frankie's Pizza. He bought me an apple juice and bought me a slice of pizza, which was really nice of him. He took some photos with me, and we had a bit of a chat about music and wrestling.
Yeah.
Whatever else. It was really fun.
And I heard something about the harp. He took a liking to your harp or something.
Okay, so the final countdown came on. And then he starts doing like this air keyboard thing for the like final countdown thing, dun, 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 like that. And he's doing that in the air. And then I told him that I could actually play the song on the harp, and he's like, "This sort of harp is in the harmonica, or this one, as in like the actual harp. Harmonica is in the harp." So then I showed him a photo of the harp I was making, and he's like, "Wow, that's a really nice harp that you're making." And he's like, "You can actually play this on the harp?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can." And so then the next time it got to that point in the song where the main riff came in, he starts out on the keys, and then he changes to like an air harp, and it was really funny. And,
Cool.
Yeah, that made me smile. Like, look, I wouldn't say I know the guy, I just got to hang out with him.
Great stuff. Yeah,
lovely guy though, and like as a wrestler too, like he's been able to reinvent himself so many times. I think that's
big time.
As an entertainer, no matter what industry you're in. Like, I think with music, it's important to have one's image gradually change, and to be able to see a photo and be like, that was this specific year, is that identifiable? Or you even hear them playing, it's like, oh yeah, their playing style is from that year. So many musicians, they don't grow, they don't evolve, and that's why they fade away.
Yeah, so people can make their own luck. We could be talking about, well, there's hundreds and hundreds of wrestlers over the years, but we're referencing him along with the great Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn from around the corner at Max Wax when you saw them. But we're mentioning Chris.
I only saw them due to I like MMA.
Yeah.
I like MMA way more than wrestling.
Disclaimer, but yeah, we respect them all. But Chris Jericho brings people, the way he's transcended the different industries. He's been in the Shark Endo. We were looking that up earlier on Rolling Stone magazine. Chris has actually been in Rolling Stone a few times over the years too. So he sort of wrote the blueprint of how to become successful from wrestling into different industries, film, music, and beyond. So we had to mention him. Now, another occurrence that puts you back on our radar about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You're a bit of a good Samaritan, mate. I know you're a very humble fellow, but you actually... you're a bit of a shining knight. There was a lady that was going through a bit of a tough time, and I think you light up her day, if not week or month. I mean, tell us a bit about how that happened.
I still busk. Like, I don't need to. I make enough from playing gigs to live off. But when I busk, I do it as a bit of paid practice and get out of the house, have a bit of fun, bring some music to the streets. And I met this really sweet homeless girl, and she gave me this really beautiful white rose. And she said to me, "You can't have a harp without a white rose." I don't exactly know how that works, but let's run with it. And so we got talking. We had a nice little chat, and it turns out she was really, really musical. And she was telling me a bit about her life story where she had this really nice guitar, one that was worth thousands of dollars. She absolutely loved it. But she had to run away from her partner because of domestic abuse.
Right.
And she had to leave behind all of her belongings, and as a result of that, she was homeless. So she lost her guitar, she lost everything. She didn't even have a place to live. She was sleeping rough on the streets. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, like, if you could get a guitar now, would you want one?" And she said, "I'd love one." I said, "Would you be able to actually carry it around with you while you're on the streets?" She's like, yeah, I wish I could have a guitar, I just can't afford one. I'm like, "Look, I'll get you a guitar." And she's like, No, don't spend all that money. I'm like, "Look, I guarantee you I can get you one for free."
Cool.
And so I took a photo of me with that white rose and put it on Facebook, and I said the little story there about how this lovely girl gave me this white rose. Actually, she had a bunch of white roses and she wanted to give all of them to me. And I said, "No, you just give me one, you hang on to the rest of them, and then you start selling them to random guys who are trying to impress girls, and that way you can make a bit of money. Sell them for $5 a pop." And she sold all of them, made a bit of money off of them, which I'm glad she did. So I posted on Facebook, "This lovely girl just gave me this white rose. She's a very talented musician. She had a go of my harp and she was naturally able to figure it out."
Wow.
Like most people who are musicians can play most instruments and just sort of like fumble around and get something. And she could, and she was relatively decent, just having a crack at it. And I thought that's very unfortunate about everything that's happened to her, especially that she lost her guitar.
Yeah, no, that's a
So
beautiful. Yeah.
I made that post, I explained the situation, and within about 5-10 minutes, people had already started offering their guitars. I got people to take photos of them and looked at which one was the most like logistically practical for her, as well as for me to pick up and deliver to her. And yeah, like I'd already arranged to pick one up within hours. And keep in mind, I made that post at like 1 a.m.
I love it.
So people were awake at night, and they were so generous and so charitable to someone who they'd never met and likely never going to meet.
Yep.
So the week later, I picked up that guitar. I got her phone number. I messaged her saying, "Can we meet up in the city? I have something for you." I didn't tell her that I actually got her the guitar. I think she assumed it was the guitar, but I didn't exactly let her know that I had sourced her the guitar. And we met up, and she said to me, "Now I can actually busk instead of beg. I can work for my money and earn my money." And I thought that was very beautiful that she has that mentality, and very sweet young lady. I don't have any contact with her anymore. Her number no longer works, but I hope she's doing all right. I hope she's found a place to live. I hope she has a job, and most of all, I hope she's happy and that she's healthy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Yeah.
Well, I didn't do all that much. I didn't have to sacrifice a guitar for that.
Well,
I think the truly amazing thing is this friend of mine who had only met once at a party. She read the status and she gave up a very nice guitar to a total stranger just because she was touched by that story. And I think ultimately her kindness is what should be recognized.
Yeah, well, you know...
So thank you, Heather.
Yes.
Heather, thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, people power, everything matters. So when you see these famous rock bands and movie stars and everything else, but there's people behind the scenes. There's managers, there's roadies, there's people doing the hard yakka, there's people promoting it, there's people that make the it's so many components. And so everyone pulled together the resources, and you made a little miracle happen there, which is tremendous. So we love people with as much substance as style, and that's a ton of substance. And speaking of things of that nature, I believe you may be helping out with that Movember campaign. I saw the moustache. You didn't have that last time, I believe.
Yes, I'm doing the whole Movember thing. Now, I've tried to entice people into donating by saying they could choose my facial hair. One of the first donations I got said you would look great with a Lemmy, like beard, moustache, whatever it is, the mutton chops that goes up along there. So that was the first thing I did.
The handlebars off the chopper or whatever whatever.
It's like the handlebars, but with like the mutton chops, right? So I had that for a week. And then someone else donated, my friend Kevin, who's a really lovely guy. He's one of my biggest music supporters. He donated a lot of money towards getting my CD launched, and has supported me with busking. Is just an all-round nice human being. He's so passionate about music and helping people and supporting people. He very kindly gave a very generous donation towards my Movember. And he currently has the handlebar moustache, so I thought I better do that too because of his generous donation. Now, someone else donated, and they want me to do the Salvador Dali moustache. I'm not sure if I'll be able to manage that to actually get it pointing up at the end, but that's the goal. I've only got 4 days left of November.
Yeah. Oh, mate, great stuff. It's been noticed. I've noticed so many fellows with this year, but I mean, mine comes and goes depending on whether I'm down the beach or doing the red carpet. Now, on to something else. With Substance, you've got there's one or two other community projects. I'm just trying to. You had an audition here at Fox. That looks like a commercial thing. Perhaps in 1, 2, 3 something months, the whole of Australia will know about it, but it's under wraps at the moment. But when they see ya, they're going to go, oh yes, that's what Taras was talking. Well,
I honestly don't even know what it's for. All I know is that it's martial arts, so.
Yeah. Well, if or when we see it, we'll know what it is. So that's great. Now, we've got quite a lot of media and entertainment arty people that have been following our news for many years now, and sometimes even professional entertainers, and even those breaking into the industry need a little bit of extra motivation and things to keep going. You're obviously a very strong person mentally, and to be able to keep going with this over the years. And one thing that I often tell the people that we manage and friends is not every single time you do an event it's going to be an absolute smash hit, or you're not always going to be performing to whether it's 500 people, 10,000, 100,000 or whatever. But so if you can share with us, what is the smallest audience you've ever performed in front of, and what is the biggest audience you've ever performed in front of? And also, on the tougher days, what's been some of the things that have seen you get through the day to continue on with your amazing career?
The smallest audience I've performed to, like 2 people, but that was alright. Like, I had a guaranteed amount of pay. It was the venue that didn't promote it properly, and I was under no responsibility to promote it.
2? Well, you can almost only go up from there.
And the largest gig I've played, and like the largest crowd, probably about 2,000.
Yeah, great.
To a packed house.
Well, you're in good company there, because there's one first name, a lovely guy. I had the pleasure to meet Dwayne about 5 years ago on one of the red carpets, and about probably 25 years ago I think he performed in front of an audience of about maybe 30 or 50 at Memphis before he was The Rock.
Jerry Lawler's thing.
Yeah.
Well, what name did he go by?
Flex Kavana. Yeah, and another great part of his story, who we often reference, is he named his company $7 Production, because at one point he had $7 in his pocket. Now it's probably closer to 7 million or 70 million, who knows? But he's number one box office in America. So, but you know, it's doing the hard yards. He put in a great performance in front of a moderate amount of people, and then sometimes it might be 6 months later, or it might be 5 years later, and all of a sudden you're performing in front of thousands of people, and you can be broadcast on the internet, but on television and other places around the world, and everyone finds out about you, and you're one of those like 10-year overnight success stories, as they say.
Well, that's the thing, is that even if you're only performing in front of 2 people, if they've paid to see you perform, they still deserve just as good of a show.
Yeah.
right? And you don't know who those two people are either. For all you know, they might be a music promoter, or they might have connections in TV or whatever else. Regardless of the show, always put in 100%.
Yeah.
Like, there have been times where I've worked for dodgy promoters. I've got into arguments with them right before going out in front of crowds. For whatever reason, it's not like it's a common occurrence, but regardless, I will always put on a happy face in front. Not necessarily a happy face, I will still put in 100% for the crowd, as they still deserve the best possible show. They deserve what they came to see,
Yeah.
regardless of what people backstage are doing.
Yes.
And yeah, like, I think it was Woody Allen who said something like 90% of success is just showing up. And just show up, get your name out there, work hard, and when you perform, make sure you're actually giving people something. It's like, a lot of people, they perform for themselves, but it's really a special thing when you can have this emotional connection with someone who you've never met through whatever your art or medium is. And it's something deeply fulfilling.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Now, for those who aren't totally familiar with you yet, I'm sure they will be in the future, especially after this goes live as well. But where can people look you up? Can we find you on the internet or anywhere else to get a bit more of an idea about your history and so on?
Yeah, you can find my Facebook page, facebook.com/Taras Music Channel, Instagram @Taras Music Channel, my Bandcamp, tarasmusicchannel.bandcamp.com. You spell Taras, Taras, like Tara, but with an S at the end. Where else can you find stuff about me? I think those are the main places. If you want to listen to my music on Spotify, because you don't want to actually buy music and you just want to stream it, search for the album Beneath the Night Sky. That's the album that I launched 366 days ago. It's an album that I'm very proud of, and I think it turned out very well, all things considered. And there are a lot of obstacles within that album, and we somehow overcame them with a good crew. I was lucky to have my producer Perrin helping me, and a good bunch of musicians who did some session work for me. So yeah, check out that album. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram.
Great, and
I always appreciate that.
And we've got a suspicion that more and more people are going to find you via Media Man, and also one of our lead projects, Media for Good. And mate, you are a good guy. You're one of the great guys in the industry. We're blessed to have met you. So,
Thank you.
Taras, thank you very much, and we look forward